Good morning, everyone. We're live and waiting for your calls. Today, we're going all James Bond, finding out about state-of-the-art technology that'll help you keep safe. Also today, a crime spree that left residents reeling.
Why can't they find a decent job rather than rob people who have worked hard all their lives?
And I'll be looking at all the gadgets here, including this. It could be the latest modern-day transport for bobbies on the beat.
You're watching Crimewatch Roadshow. Hello and welcome to Crimewatch Roadshow. We're live every morning, travelling the length and breadth of the UK, tackling crime that affects us all. Also, coming up on today's programme, caught on camera. Every step of a 30-minute robbery captured on CCTV. Can you identify the attackers?
He said that he's going to kill me. I was very scared.
And the fraudsters ripping investors off to the tune of £200 million a year. How police and trading standards are trying to stamp them out.
These people are selling the dream and delivering the nightmare.
Today, the Roadshow team are back in London. And what are you up to, Sian?
Hello, today it's more tomorrow's world than Crimewatch Roadshow, and that's because I'm here at the biggest security show in Europe, checking out the latest kit to keep our homes safe. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff here.
Sian, look forward to that. But first, the hunt for a brazen set of burglars who couldn't stop helping themselves to other people's property. At around 3:15 on the 31st of July 2014 in Sawbridgeworth, a crime spree is about to begin that would shock and terrify local residents. At 5 p.m, when Alison McKnight returned from work, she immediately noticed something was wrong.
I noticed the car wasn't there in the drive. I got quite panicked. And then I looked to the door and the door was wide open, and I knew something had happened. I knew someone had been in the house. And I was just greeted by chaos. We had a wicker basket by the front door with shoes in it. That was all over the floor. We had a cupboard under the stairs with bags in it. They'd all been pulled out. Every single drawer that was there seemed to have been opened. It was quite frightening. I wasn't sure what I was going to find when I went from room to room.
The McKnight son had been housebound for 12 weeks with an ankle injury, but there was no sign of him.
I knew he was going to be going out in the afternoon, but I didn't know whether he'd actually left before the burglary took place. At that point in time, I just started panicking and running from room to room, shouting his name. Sorry. I thought he might have been hurt. I thought he might have been there when they'd broken in, and they'd either hurt him or they'd taken him to try and get money from his cash point. Anything. I don't know what had happened. But eventually, I'm sure it was only a few minutes, I managed to get hold of him.
Although relieved that her son was okay, Alison still needed to break the news of the burglary to her husband, Neil.
The rooms still were in the state they had been left, so there was things lying all over the place. Drawers open, and a sort of scene of devastation, I guess. As well as the car, they helped themselves to my wife's jewellery, my jewellery, my daughter's jewellery that had been handed down from grandmothers. I had a set of cufflinks that had been handed down to me from my grandfather, which, you know, great sentimental value, which of course can't be replaced.
One of the most frightening things was finding out that they'd actually taken a knife. Were they actually going to use that to defend themselves if someone came in? It was just quite frightening.
The initial feeling is shock, obviously, but then there's anger. You know, you feel really angry about the fact that someone has such disregard for you and your belongings, and they think that it's appropriate to come into your home and take your things that you've worked so hard for. You do feel anger about it.
A neighbour's CCTV caught a suspicious vehicle driving past them at night's property. Investigating officer Gav Morris has studied the footage.
We believe they arrived in a black, small black Audi, and they've obviously, when they've entered the house, they've stolen the car keys to a black BMW on the driveway. So they've made away in that black BMW, and that's followed the black Audi off down out of the Guilders.
After ransacking them at night, the thieves continued with their crime spree. And at about 4 p.m, the same men arrived at a property 5 miles away in Harlow. Alone in the property, the lady of the house was packing to go on holiday when she heard a noise. Thinking it was outside, she went to the window. Then she realised she wasn't alone.
She left her bedroom and been confronted by these 2 males on her stairs.
Acting on instinct, she then ran towards the intruders, shouting at them to get out.
She asks them what they think they're doing, and as soon as she speaks to them, they then run off down the stairs.
The men were seen fleeing the scene in the McKnight's black BMW, but their spree didn't end there.
And we'll be going back to that case later. Now, here at this show, of course, I'm surrounded by kit that can actually help prevent burglaries. And I'm joined by Kate Russell. She's a technology expert from BBC's Click programme. Hello. Hello, Kate. You've had a good look around here.
Yes.
What have you picked out to show us?
Well, this is Fleur. This is a system for surveilling your home, either inside or outside. High-definition camera on a stand, point it where you want to capture, and you can see here. First of all, you can record live. You can view it live over the internet on your smartphone app. But also, this is something called Rapid Recap. So it allows you to review the whole day's footage in 60 seconds. You can see all those people there are time-stamped. It's pulled out all the movement throughout the day. And on the smartphone app, you can just click on one of those people to see exactly what happened at that moment in the day. So it allows you to review that footage really quickly.
Absolutely fascinating. So that's for the house, perhaps. But of course, garden sheds, garages, that's something also that people can be very concerned about security-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is armour. It's a Vertec armour, and inside this piece of foam is a very thin, flexible mesh, and it's super, super tough. Now, we've got very smartly dressed gentlemen burglars who are going to show us how tough it is. So this has got some of that material inside. You can put it inside your shed door, your garage door, and you're not going to get through that in a hurry with an axe, you know, even using a circular saw like this.
That is absolutely incredible. Well, thanks very much, guys, for showing us just how armour-plated that is. Of course, also, you know, late at night, the door goes, somebody knocks at the door, people get very worried.
Yes. Now, my grandmother's in her 90s. She lives on her own, and this is a peephole for your front door. It's motion activated, so as soon as it detects movement, it turns on and starts recording. Well, first of all, that gives you safety for being able to see who's outside the door. She could see it on her smartphone app, so she's sitting on the sofa, she can see who's outside. And also, it's very easy to install. You just literally put it through your existing peephole. So if you live in a rented apartment, for example, you're not going to have to drill new holes to give you that added level of security.
Absolutely fascinating, and in a word, they're always bringing out new gadgets, aren't they, for you to keep on top of?
Exactly. No, it's all about staying safe in your home, and this gives you security and peace of mind.
Absolutely, and hopefully that you found what we've shown you so far interesting. Rav, come back to us, because we're going to be showing you a camera that can actually pick out faces from a crowd.
I look forward to that. Now, with 5 people convicted every day of trolling in the UK, these sorts of crimes are on the rise, and people from all walks of life are being targeted. You know, children and young people are amongst the most vulnerable, and Tony Neats from Get Safe Online is here to tell me more. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Now, we are talking about 2 different things, aren't we? We've got cyberbullying and trolling. What's the difference?
There is a difference, but at the end of the day, they can ruin people's lives. When it comes to bullying, we normally think about that about children, and children are affected, but it can also happen to people in the workplace. But trolling, that's a real evil offence, where people are targeted because they've gone through some really emotional disaster in their lifetime, and that really is dreadful what we hear about that.
Yeah, well, we've actually got a clip now of just that. This is Carol, whose daughter died in her sleep, and a troller targeted her memorial page.
A friend of hers set a rest in peace site so that all her friends can leave messages for her, and this is where this guy had started leaving messages and things. He would put help me mummy, it's hot in hell. Just lots of nasty things, really. And he would set up a picture of me and Laura, and he would deface her and put kiss mummy goodbye one last time. It was just awful.
I mean, that's just so sad. It's hard to believe that someone could do that. Now, the offender did get 18 weeks prison for that, but why are we seeing so many incidents of this kind going online?
Well, it's horrendous, isn't it? I mean, look what happened there. But I think it's down to, again, cowardly acts. People hide behind the internet. The anonymity of the internet gives them that space where they can attack people without being identified.
I think that's what it is, isn't it? So what can people do if they do find themselves a victim of this? What advice can you give them?
Well, the first thing I would say and recommend is you record what's going on. So take a snapshot of the screen, record everything that's happening, but then share that information with someone that you trust, a family member, a friend, anyone really that can give you a little bit of support, and then make sure that the police are informed. The police are very aware of these types. They're now working with people to make sure that this doesn't happen, and I have no doubt that the people who are committing these offences are arrested and will go to prison, and it's quite right that they do so too.
OK, Tony, good advice. Thank you for joining us. Let's see what Sean's up to. Thank you.
Well, next, proof that when something looks too good to be true, it probably is. £200 million is lost each year in the UK to share scams. The biggest individual loss reported to the police was for £6 million. These scams are often run from so-called boiler rooms, offices where fraudsters cold call investors offering them worthless, overpriced or even non-existent shares. Lured by the promise of high returns, those who invest usually end up losing some or all of their cash. In May 2009 in Chichester, West Sussex, Mark Bridgman received a cold call.
I think the call was, Mr. Bridgman, would you like to invest some money? I said, I don't know. Why should I? He said, well, look, things are moving at this time, and if you so choose, you can invest some money and make more money.
Mark wanted to invest his money wisely and thought gold would be a safe bet, so decided to go ahead.
We're doing a bond at £10,000. You've got to move fairly quickly, you know, in the next 14 days. Would you be interested? And I said, yes, I think I would be, yes.
Mark instructed his bank to pay the money and received his share certificate as they'd agreed. And for 6 months, Mark believed he had a share of a gold mine in South America.
They sent me a brochure of what they come to. Oh, look at this. It's based in the city, sort of thing. It's got to be good. I was sucked in. I really was sucked in.
Then, after a conversation with his son, doubts started to creep in about whether this deal was too good to be true.
I said, Dad, I think you've been ripped off, without beating about the bush.
After many failed attempts to contact the company, it transpired they disappeared, taking Mark's money with them.
These wheeler dealers, these financial dealers, they didn't give a damn about whether they honoured an agreement. All they were concerned about is stealing your money.
His £10,000 bond certificate was just a worthless piece of paper. Mark was the victim of a share scam, and he's not alone. Last year, over 5,000 hopeful investors in the UK were lured by this fraud. Operation Broadway has been launched by the City of London Police and Trading Standards to carry out a London-wide clampdown on suspected investment frauds, operating out of some of the capital's most iconic buildings in the heart of the UK's financial district.
We've been set up to tackle boiler rooms, investment scams that are plaguing the city and, in fact, London and the UK throughout.
Today, Andy is working alongside Detective Constable Heather Dalton from the Fraud Squad. They've received complaints about suspicious activity at a company trading in shares.
We have the power to enter, we have the power to ask any questions that we deem appropriate. If we find anything that we're not happy with, we have the power to seize it. Operation Broadway works with the police. It's great for them. They can come in on the back of my powers.
Share scam companies often use the facade of swanky offices in a city location. This is to give an air of legitimacy to financial products that don't exist. In the trade, it's known as a boiler room.
It's a colloquialism in relation to a high-pressure sales room selling fake or non-existent commodities for exorbitant prices to the vulnerable, to the elderly. They are preying on the weak.
The behaviour of the director of the company increases suspicions this company isn't legit.
It could be fraud. It could be a typical investment scam where these people are selling the dream and delivering the nightmare.
The next day, when Andy returned to the offices, they'd been abandoned. Computers, whiteboards and paperwork had been removed. This case is now a criminal investigation.
Part of Operation Broadway is to disrupt, is to make these people know that we're around. We have also sent out a message that we are here, that we're not stopping, that we will be back. And it is our intention to drive investment scams out of the City of London. We will do it.
Well, we saw the effects of boiler room fraud, but of course that's not the only way that the fraudsters can try to get their hands on your cash. We're talking about technological advances, of course, today, so let's talk about bank technology at the moment and contactless cards with Martin Ems. You're an expert in cybercrime from Newcastle University. Contactless cards, most of us will have used them, not everybody, so tell us a bit about them and how many there are.
So contactless cards are a quick and convenient way to pay for something. You tap your card on the payment terminal and you don't have to put your PIN in. You can pay for small value items up to about £20.
Yeah, and you've done some research though in this area, haven't you? What's your findings?
So what we've done is we've looked at the security of the contactless cards. So basically, does the ease of use allow you to do any new kinds of attack on the card which would be more dangerous than the current cards?
OK, so what have you found, if you could show us? And obviously we're showing your phone there, which we've just covered with some tape just for security purposes.
So what we've done is we've created an application on the phone, and what the application does is it pretends to be a payment terminal just like you would see in the shop. So what it's going to do is it's going to approve a transaction off my card. And what we found is that although the card will limit itself to £20 in UK currency, if you ask for another currency, say dollars or euros, we can actually approve amounts up to $1 million or €1 million, because the card doesn't know about the doesn't know about the foreign currency. So what I've got is the phone is set up to pretend to be a terminal, and I'll approve a transaction from my card.
OK, so that's going through there, but obviously I do need to point out that this really is not a problem at the moment, that contactless card fraud on it is very low. 1 pence for every £100 spent last year, and the banks tell us, of course, that they have checks and balances in place.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you, Sean. Still to come on today's programme. A pensioner who's had to come to terms with losing his life savings.
Even now, it still goes through my head how I got conned.
And a victim who makes a run for it after being held captive by 2 muggers. And it's all caught on CCTV. Now, earlier we appealed for information on a gang of rampaging burglars who stole a BMW in Essex and used it as their getaway car.
What the hell are you?
5 miles away, a second victim chased the same men out of the house. Undeterred, the men set their third victim in their sights. At approximately 5 p.m. in the Longbanks area of Harlow, the So This Riharis were at home relaxing when they heard a loud knock at the door.
The first thing I saw through the glass panes of the door was a man with, in a balaclava, wearing a balaclava on his head.
I heard a big bang and sound of broken glass falling.
He had a crowbar in his hand, and he just crashed through the door.
Who is there? Who is it? I got up and I went up to the door to see 2 men in balaclava. And one of them had come actually into the house.
The door frame, a part of the wood, had splintered, and I used that as a stake to fend him off. And I tried to push him out of the door.
And I thought he was really brave to push him back.
But Mr. Sodhis Rahari's brave actions were going to come at a price as the level of violence intensified.
Because I was shouting so much, he punched me in the face.
As the 80-year-old was lying on the floor, the intruder grabbed his prize necklace, then made his escape.
Well, I had it for about 50-odd years before the man stole it. I'm 80. I'm more than grandfather. To do an assault like that is it's unthinkable.
Even now, if my husband goes to answer the door, I always take my phone with me and stand nearby, so that just in case that I need to call the police.
Even when I pass through into the kitchen, my shadow gives me the effect that somebody is behind the door. So I always have a fearful look at the front door.
I want them to be caught and punished, and I don't. People like these people, why can't they find a decent job and earn a living rather than steal or rob people who have, or older people who have worked hard all their lives?
Well, this is a very distressing case, and DC Gav Morris, who's leading the investigation, is with me now. Some very distinctive and precious items were taken, weren't they?
Yes, Mr McKnight had some cufflinks stolen that had been in his family for over 70 years, and the talisman stolen from Mr Sodhis Rahari was given to him by his mother, so held huge sentimental value.
Absolutely. Now, we do have some CCTV. Talk us through the details that this is able to show us.
Yeah, so this CCTV shows a black, we think, Audi A3 pulling up close to Mr McKnight's house, and a male seen getting out of that vehicle walking towards their property, who I believe is involved in this burglary. He's a white male, probably 5 foot to 6 foot tall, is wearing light grey clothing.
Now, you also know a lot about the other car, of course, that they took, because that belonged to the McKnights.
Yeah, so the registration number of that car is LC08RKO, and that is Mr McKnight's vehicle that was stolen, and we believe that that vehicle was used in the burglaries in Harlow, as it was seen by witnesses at both of those burglaries.
OK, now, you mentioned those other burglaries. What have you worked out about the route so far that we can show people?
So when the vehicle was stolen in Stallbridge, we know that they would have travelled down London Road towards the Church Langley area of Harlow on the A414. From Church Langley burglary, they then would have had to go on 2nd Avenue in Harlow over to the Longbanks area.
OK, well, let's hope that helps people. Now, you have been to see Mrs Sodhis Rahari lately, haven't you?
Yeah, I saw her recently. She's still frightened to open the front door, even nearly a year later, and it's so distressing for her.
Absolutely, I know this was a shocking incident. Thanks very much, and let's hope someone can help. If you can, please get in touch.
Now it's time to have a look at today's wanted faces, and we start with this man. This is Zadrunas Sabinskas. He's wanted by North Yorkshire Police on suspicion of large-scale fraud, thought to be in the region of £100,000. He was due to appear at Crown Court in August 2014, but never turned up and has been on the run ever since. He's Lithuanian and quietly spoken, but does speak good English. He has ties to Harrogate, Leeds, Peterborough and Boston in Lincolnshire. Now, if you're in South London, keep an eye out for Jonathan Brown here. He's got contacts in Penge, Brixton, Croydon and Thornton Heath. Back in 2013, Brown was released early from a 6-year jail sentence for possession of a firearm. But he was supposed to stick to certain rules regarding where he lived, and he didn't, so he's now wanted back in jail. Brown has a 1-inch scar on his right eye, a pierced left ear, and may now have shaved his head. And what about this fella? This is Daniel Burdett. Police want to find him for questioning about the supply of cocaine and ketamine. Burdett's got a Liverpool accent, ginger hair and a surgical scar on his left leg. He has links across Liverpool, in particular the city centre, Bootle and Kirkdale areas, as well as to Amsterdam. And finally for today, Neil Brooker is wanted by police in London. He was jailed for 6 years for burglary back in 2010, but hasn't kept to the terms of his licence and is now wanted back inside. Brooker's got a pierced tongue and various tattoos on his left arm, including a bulldog, and the names Daniel, Mum, Ryan, Donna, Danny, Ellie and Paige. It's also his 32nd birthday today, so if you do see him out celebrating, make sure you give us a call. So if you know where any of them are, make sure you pick up the phone. You can call us on 08000 468 999. Calls are free from most landlines. Some network and mobile operators will charge for these calls. Or you can text us on 63399. Text CW space and then your message. And that space is really important. If you don't put it in, your message won't get through to us. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. Of course, you can email us as well. The address, cwr@bbc.co.uk. Now, for our next victim, having his phone stolen was just the start of a prolonged and vicious robbery that was all caught on CCTV. Jacek Osher decided to up sticks from his native Poland and move to the UK nearly 10 years ago. As a musician in a band, London was the only place to be.
Guitar is my love. I work during the week, I play during the weekends.
In June 2014, Jacek was at a friend's house in Lewisham, South East London, at about 11 p.m. His friend offered him a lift home.
I was full of energy. I decided to walk. There was nice weather, a nice night. I was in Ladywell, which takes 20 minutes walk to my house.
He walked through Ladywell Park in Lewisham, and at about 11:15, he'd reached Rushy Green in Catford.
I took my phone. I realized there's a message from one of the musicians.
With the phone still in his hand, he noticed two men on the street who seemed to be in high spirits. One of them shouted at Jacek.
They were really loud. So they're like, where do you come from? I'll say I'm from Poland.
The two men's friendly banter distracted Jacek, and in an instant, one of them grabbed his phone. The thieves headed down an alleyway at the side of Tesco's, and when he caught up with them, they were waiting.
The incident was caught on CCTV, and it showed the full amount of the attack on Jacek. They pushed him to the floor and they kicked him multiple times around his body, his upper chest.
Luckily, I think because I put my hands here, there were loads of kick on the head, loads of kicks.
During the brutal attack, they grabbed his bag, and now not only did they have his phone, they had his wallet.
The tall one said that he's gonna kill me. I was very scared.
They found his bank cards and now demanded his PIN number. Terrified, Jacek gave the number, hoping this would be the end of his ordeal.
Jacek was waiting with the smaller male while the larger male went off to the cash point, and it's shown by CCTV that he doesn't have much luck in getting money out. Possibly he used the wrong card. The larger male then comes back and confronts Jacek, gets very angry at Jacek and gets very close to his face and starts being very aggressive with him and demanding the code.
Finally, he was able to convince him it was the correct number.
What's the pin? That's the right pin. That is the pin number, that's the right number.
One of them threatened to stab him if the code was wrong. I'm sure he would have considered that and would have been worried that if he did try and do anything, they would have carried through on their threats.
I was scared of death. Yeah. When the taller guy went the second time, I knew there's no chance to be there. I had to get out of as soon as possible.
Still unable to get Jacek's cash, the violence intensified as the tall attacker returned.
The taller male started punching and kicking him, trying to get the correct code out. The smaller male then sees this attack and tries to stop the larger male from attacking Jacek.
With both of the attackers distracted, Jacek sensed his chance to escape. His ordeal lasted more than half an hour.
Normally when you're dealing with robberies, it's instantaneous and people run away. This was a prolonged attack on Jacek to make sure that they could get as much as they could from him. Very nasty, in my opinion.
The brutal attack has had a lasting impact on Jacek.
This is my worst experience in the UK. I think that they should pay for this one because it's not right what they did for me.
Well, we saw that robbery caught on CCTV, and here we've got all the latest in camera technology, including one that can spot faces in a crowd. And Kate Russell is back with me. Kate,
Hello.
to explain this.
Well, this is smart video analytics, basically. So it takes the content from existing CCTV cameras, and we are often caught on camera around 300 times a day here in Britain, and it will then search for somebody based on a description. So we've made an avatar of you. We've said what you look like,
yes,
exactly what clothes you're wearing, what kind of build you are, what your hair is like, and then it will search through all of that footage captured by the video cameras to see where you might be. Now imagine if you'd lost a child in an airport or a shopping centre. You can rapidly find them, click on an image to confirm that it is you, it plays back the video, and then you can click on the map and see what route you've taken, and that will then tell you where that person's gone around the map that you're searching.
Absolutely fascinating. So that was me walking around the stands earlier today. Of course, other technology as well to talk about, isn't there? Particularly fingerprint technology.
Yes, well, biometric scanning is one of the most sort of successful and safe ways of identifying people. It's very difficult to lose your fingerprints and for them to fall into the wrong hands. And the system that you tested earlier allows you to scan your hand. It scans all 4 of your fingers. And then when you scan, just wave your hand in front of the scanner, if it just recognises one fingerprint, then it will let you pass through. So it will very rapidly allow you to let lots of people go through a security gate, for example.
So, wow, I suppose keys could be a thing of the past. Now, I've been eyeing up these vehicles over here, and we're going to be able to have a go on these. We've had very minimal training before we are actually allowed to go off on them. I think let's talk a little bit about them, because there's a lot to see here, and talk me through it.
Yeah, so this is the Raptor. Now, it looks fun, and there are leisure uses, but these are badged up for the police, and they can be used by postmen as well. 25 miles an hour top speed, fully road legal, and they turn on a sixpence, so you can use them indoors in shopping centres and whatnot as well. Maximum range of 45 miles an hour. Now, maximum range of 45 miles.
Yes.
The average Bobby walks 8 miles a day, and this can increase his range by up to 30 to 40 miles, so a lot more coverage and a lot more visibility.
Absolutely.
Especially
Okay,
with the lights
well,
on.
here goes then. Let's see if we can remember the training. And setting off, we're supposed to be doing this very gently, aren't they, we're told? Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, oh, I think I'm going a little bit too fast on this. We're going to crash into the cameraman. It's certainly good fun.
Good stuff there. Now it's time for today's CCTV Roundup. Will you recognise any of these criminals caught in the act? I've seen a lot of disguises in my time, but just using your hands to cover your face is a new one on me. And this shopper's not exactly subtle. A checked hoodie, bright blue trackies and white trainers make him stand out like a sore thumb. Looking like he's about to sneeze, he heads to the stockroom, where police believe he lies in wait for a member of staff. Detectives say he threatens a female employee with a screwdriver and forces her to open a coded door to the staff room. Inside the staff room, he tells her to open the safe. Then he begins removing bags of money. He lays a black jacket on the floor and places bags of cash inside it. But as he turns to leave, the bags spill out, and he has to get a green bag instead. Back in the shop, he calmly walks through the aisles, carrying $3 grand under his arm, and out the door. Can you name him? A shop assistant takes a break at a newsagent's under Leeds station. But she's got a customer, a man in a black beanie hat with ginger stubble, black coat and trainers. She puts her magazine away and waits to serve him. But he decides to help himself to cash. Police say he threatens her with a small knife and tells her to open the till. He grabs a handful of money, about £100 in total, and strolls out. We'd be chuffed if you could name this train station tea leaf. The hooded man walking into this Brighton newsagent's has a novel trick up his sleeve. He pretends he can't find his wallet, but it's a ruse, because what he's really after is a can of spray. He shoves it in the assistant's face and tells her to open the till. But she's having none of it, so he does it himself. But guess what? The canny cashier slams the drawer shut. Oh dear, this really isn't his day, because then she legs it out of the shop and escapes in the street. Let's have a closer look at him. He's described as 5'10", aged 30 to 45, and was wearing a small dark bag across his chest and a pair of mucky trousers. This guy should carry the can for what he's done. Tell us if you know his name. So if you recognise any of that lot, make sure you pick up the phone. You can call and text using the numbers that are on screen now. Of course, you can also email us to the address cwr@bbc.co.uk. Or remember, you can also call Crime Stoppers anonymously. Their number now is 0800 555 111.
Next, a lifetime of scrimping and saving put to waste by a seemingly harmless phone call. Originally from the East End of London, James Ward and his wife Amy moved to Harlow in the 60s. Kids, then grandkids followed, but they've long since flown the nest.
Mr. Ward lives in the centre of Harlow. He's lived at the same house for the last 50 years. Despite being 87, he still leads an active life.
3 years ago, James's wife had a heart attack. She died soon after.
I say good night, good morning to her up there on the wall, have a little chat to her. If I'm feeling a bit low, and I've got a ring round my neck, I won't part with it.
Having worked since he was 14, James had always been careful with money, ensuring he put enough by for his retirement.
People might think I was tight, but I've always saved money. We didn't live the high life. There was always money there for the children if they needed it.
Quite easily be leading 5-0.
On the 29th of April, James was on his own, watching the snooker.
At least another one frame.
I'd always put telly on it if I don't watch it.
The snooker was interrupted by a phone call from somebody, claiming to be from the bank.
There was a male voice who said he was calling from Mr. Ward's bank, which is actually NatWest, and he knew that it was NatWest. And he told Mr. Ward that there'd been some fraudulent activity on his account.
I could hear sort of people in the background. It's like an office, you know.
Convinced he was talking to the bank, he openly discussed private information, his various accounts, and then finally, his PIN number.
The caller told Mr. Ward that he needed to have access to Mr. Ward's bank card, and that he'd send a courier to Mr. Ward to collect Mr. Ward's bank card and his latest bank statement, and then asked Mr. Ward what his PIN number was.
Like a fork, give it to him.
The caller now had his PIN number, so they just needed to collect the card. Within the hour, a courier was walking up James's path.
I gave him the envelope.
Of course.
And strangely enough, I said, I hope you ain't a con. No, he said, and away went.
James had a creeping realisation that something was wrong.
It was only when I woke up the next morning that something told me that I've been conned. I realised then things I shouldn't have told him, or I should have put the phone down.
He caught the first bus to the bank to cancel his cards, but it was too late. The fraudsters had gone to town on his life savings.
Over the day and the following day, the group has spent just over £7,700 from Mr. Ward's card.
Which drove me point to think that the first use of the card was opposite the bloody bank.
James has struggled to come to terms with the fact he's been the victim of such a brazen scam.
He's had difficulty telling his family about this because of the impact that it's had on him, and that's something that these people don't appreciate when they target the elderly and vulnerable people.
even now, when I wake up, it still goes through my head how I got conned. Makes me feel what a fool I've been. I mean, it's easy afterwards, but at the time you don't think about being a fool. It's a good thing. If I can help to catch him, then they can't do it to anybody else.
Yes, it is shocking, that case. And James generally believed that he was talking to the bank, didn't he, Greg?
Good morning, Sean. Yeah, these people really work hard in building up the confidence and trust in the people they're trying to scam. In James's case, they asked for him by name, and then they engaged him in conversation and asked the normal questions that you'd expect your bank to ask, dates of birth, mother's maiden name, things like that.
Yeah, it's very distressing. And what's the scale of this sort of crime now?
Unsurprisingly, it's more common than you'd think. In Essex, in the last 2 years, we know of over 850 attempts to try and scam these people. Unfortunately, over 170 have been successful, and these criminals have got away with over £600,000 of our elderly and vulnerable people's money.
Yeah, of course, it is the vulnerable, isn't it, that they go after. I mean, what's the advice to people who'd be watching the programme today? How can they protect themselves against this?
Some simple advice for me, really. Your bank or the police or anybody will never ask for your PIN number. So if you get a telephone call and someone is asking for your PIN number, you need to be suspicious. Your bank and the police will never send somebody round to get your bank card. So again, if that happens, be suspicious. If you are suspicious, put the phone down straight away. Wait 5 or so minutes to call the police, because if you ring straight away, there's a chance that it will connect to the people you were just speaking to. If you can ring on a mobile or a neighbour's phone, that will be ideal. But the key advice is from me, never give out your PIN number.
Absolutely, that is really good advice. And we can tell you that actually in this case that James has had all his money refunded, so that is positive, but of course it has really impacted on him.
Thank you, Shine. Just time now to find out how your calls have been helping. On Tuesday, we appealed to find the man who carried out not one but 2 terrifying attacks on the London schoolgirl. You came back with some great information and some possible names for the attacker shown in the EFIT. You've also been in touch with several possible sightings of one of yesterday's wanted faces. That was Richard Mason. So many thanks to those people who have got in touch. Do please keep those calls, texts and emails coming in. They really do make a difference. Sean, where are you going to be tomorrow?
Well, Rav, for our last outing of this week, we are going to the Met's Crime Academy, and I'm going to be turning sleuth, I think, so that's going to be interesting. But I'm going to find out, of course, how the trainees do it, using the latest crime-busting techniques, especially after we've been here today. We'll be looking at all the tech too.
Oh, lovely. Look forward to that. For more details on today's programme, head to the website. But finally, we're going to leave you with another look at the wanted faces. There they are. Somebody out there knows where these people are. If you do, then call us. Thanks for watching. Until tomorrow, take care.